Be careful. You might learn something.
Let's go.
You are now tuned in to the Factual Opinions Podcast with your hosts. I am Pharaoh. Straight facts.
That's hard.
What's up, world? This is Factual Opinions Podcast, Season 6, Episode 2. It's your humble and gracious host, I am Pharaoh, checking in with the original brain thrust of the Factual Opinions Podcast brand, Kurt Cortez. I call him Captain Kurt. He goes by many names. Welcome back, brother Kurt.
What's going on? Happy to be here.
Absolutely.
Let's do this.
So we got a few things to get right into. First of all, with this being episode 2 of season 6, I am welcoming in another reoccurring guest host. Coach Cam enters in perfect timing.
What's going on, y'all? I have to change my seat in here. What's going on with it?
Got that Bearcat logo on, man.
I try to do something.
First of all, let me give you a round of applause because I didn't know if you were gonna make it or not. So let me
Hold on, let me get myself together here. I'm about to hold on.
We got the sound effects, brother Kurt.
I can't hear them.
They're gonna be on there. You'll be able to go back and hear, but certainly glad that you could join us, brother Cam. On the following night after the college football national championship, where Cam is still in disbelief, everybody. He couldn't believe that the Indiana Hoosiers captured their first national championship in the sport of football. Bobby Knight is rolling in his grave right now. He never thought that this would become a football school in Indiana. But it's proof of what I've been saying for the longest to explain to people how it's possible. Is it likely? No. But when you hire the right coach, and this goes for any sport, when you hire the right coach and administration isn't built on excuse making and they give the person tools and resources necessary to carry out their dream and their vision and they go for it, it is possible. Now you still have to have the right coach. You have to have the right players to buy in and get it done, and that's exactly what happened. So, more importantly, and I'll get you guys' opinion on this in a second, I want to highlight that not just congratulate the Indiana Hoosiers for winning the national championship. I've been talking about this for years, and everybody poo-pooed me off, and I said, hey, it's not 2006 or 2012 anymore. When the old man retires in Tuscaloosa, going to go back to the way it was when we were kids, and ESPN is going to have to eat that relationship where they were a little overzealous and founded their own network. Went in partnership with ESPN and founded their own network. The SEC is not running things anymore. So what yesterday also marked was the third straight year that a team from the Big Ten, those slow Midwestern farm boys, won the national championship. Clearly, the tide, no pun intended, has shifted. Kurt, I know you watched a little bit of it as well. What were your thoughts on the Indiana Hoosiers extending the Big Ten's dominance on college football for 3 years in a row now?
To be honest, I've seen a couple of the Hoosiers game this year. I don't watch college football as much as you all do, but the one thing that I noticed from watching them play was how good their defense was, how they get after it, how their DBs eyes are on the swivel. They play disciplined defense. They play disciplined offense. They're a very disciplined team, which speaks to what you said about coaching. So I'm not surprised by what happened. I wanted to see Miami bring it home, but I'm not surprised by what happened because they look like a really well coached football team. So,
Cam?
Well, to be honest, it's still hard for me to believe. I understand. Indiana has been good for 2 years now. They were good last year. It's just I give Signetti all the credit in the world, man. That's what true coaching is: development, and picking the right guys. I mean, it's the transfer portal, so year to year, your team, it's not like you see multiple teams like, getting back to back or like kind of like those Alabama days. It's like so much talent spread out. You just got to pick the right guys. And college football right now and college sports in general is about getting old and staying old. And Indiana did a great job in getting 4, 5 year players, some 6 year players. Nothing wrong with it. They built a team full of them. So when people say, oh, they didn't have no 4 stars or 5 stars on the roster, I still say you had proven college football talent that's been in college for 4 years. And it's the right group, a right mix of kids. And they were the best team, I guess, in the country from start to finish. And you have to give credit. I would have liked to see Miami have won just because I feel like college football is better when teams like the U win championships and different things like that. But hey, this is the new era, man, and we got another dominant
Now you want the blue
program.
bloods. Now you want the blue bloods to win, huh?
Well, my thing is this: it's 12 teams now. It's 12 teams that get in the playoffs. So that means I know you hate it, but the little guys get a chance to go in there and get curb stomped. So I mean, I just say as long as they have a chance, but I mean, it's still better when the U and those guys are still competing for national championships. But as long as Indiana got Kurt Signetti, man, they're gonna be a factor. They're gonna be a factor in that Big Ten. So it ain't the Big Two and the rest of the guys no more. I think we got a third one, and Indiana's gonna be here to stay for a little bit.
Well, yeah, back in the day, they used to refer to the Big Ten as the Big Two and the Little Eight. We know that was in reference to the and that team up north in Ann Arbor that they would always reference. Now, I try to be a little bit unbiased. I am happy for Indiana and a guy like Kirk Signetti that had to even claw his way up through the coaching ranks and wasn't afforded, big opportunity right away in his journey to get to Indiana, and was still an unlikely destination for him to accomplish what he did. So I've been a big fan of his all year. And I posted many things on Factual Opinions website. I thought that the best 2 teams in the country were the Indiana Hoosiers and my beloved Ohio State Buckeyes. I still stand by that. Obviously, the Buckeyes did not play well in their last 2 contests, particularly after Brian Hartline was named as head coach of South Florida and disrupted the rhythm of the offense and who was calling plays and so forth. But the bottom line is when Ohio State played Miami, it was very clear that Miami wanted it more and played that way and won the football game. But from a Buckeye fan perspective, I go back, I look at Indiana 16-0, won the national championship, clearly the best team in college football. But what pisses me off, and I'm sure most Buckeye fans, is I flash back to that Big Ten championship game where Ohio State played their worst possible game of the year. Even worse than they played against Miami, I would argue, and lost 13-10. Now, a loss is a loss. I'm not, debating that, but there were several opportunities where Ohio State, you make an argument, should have even won that game. And down the stretch, things like Julian Sand not being able to keep his knee up on a damn quarterback sneak on 4th and 1 inside the 10-yard line to take the lead. We don't even have to go to Jaden Fielding's missed field goal. There were several opportunities for Ohio State to even win that game. So you look at it and you're like, wow, that's the best team. We still had an opportunity and didn't take advantage of it. So Buckeyes will get to run that back against Indiana and Bloomington next year. I'm not going to make any predictions at this point for that game. But Beanie Wells, the great Ohio State running back, talked about something that I've talked about many times on here. And I haven't tagged anybody yet on here, but, shout out to my cousin Bernard, brother Dewan, Roll Tide fans, anonymous on here. Remember when I said when Nick Saban retires, they're going to go back to the Sean Alexander years.
And I think we both said that we wasn't
where 8-3, 9-4 would be considered a good year. The rest of the SEC is adjusting too, where it's become. I mean, I'll still give them an above average rating, but that's about it. It's not elite. We don't have to map out 5, 6, 7 teams for the SEC. It's not this gauntlet that everybody used to refer to it as. That should be out of the way. What we want, as you mentioned earlier, is the best 12 teams in the country to be part of the college football playoff. Because even teams like Vanderbilt from the SEC that people said should have been in over a Tulane or a James Madison lost to who? Iowa. From what conference? The Big Ten Conference. It's clear that the Big Ten holds the threshold right now and is reigning supreme, but we just want the best 12 teams. Like, forget even I'm making a joke about that because I'm a Big Ten guy, but I've said this before. College football supremacy and conference supremacy is a year-to-year thing. We don't know what conference is going to be best until they actually get out there and start playing. Let's stop assuming ahead of time that we know what conference is the best, because we don't. It's about who plays best when you get out there. The transfer portal has influenced that. NIL, where basically you have to re-recruit your own roster every year or make, additions. So I'm glad that we came to an end finally, and the Indiana Hoosiers got the title. It was nice seeing Ed Reed and Clinton Portis
Ray
and
Lewis.
Ray Lewis. Ray was out there the whole time. And listen, I'm a college football peers. You've heard me say many a times, if you're an elite prospect and you don't go to the Ohio State University, go to the U. I had my celebration already planned in my little graphics that I was going to post if Miami won, but they didn't. So I posted the, congratulations to Indiana and tipped my cap to them. But it was a magical college football season, and the majority of the public who hates your state university got what they wanted, and the Buckeyes lost. So we had an influx of new Hurricane fans that I haven't seen in 20 plus years. But I'm glad, because Ohio State is everybody's Super Bowl. They just can't wait to play, beat Ohio State. So that comes with the territory. So as we wrap up college football, I want to get to something real quick before we get over to the NFL. Cam, our Bearcats had a pretty significant win over the weekend. They beat the number 2 ranked Iowa State Cyclones in what definitely has to go down as Wes Miller's most significant win of his tenure here as head coach of the Bearcats.
Yep. Yeah.
But I pride myself on not being a prisoner of the moment.
Absolutely.
He still needs to go.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree too. My thing is, celebrate the wins. We from Cincinnati, man. We Cincinnati sports fans. And I think we talked about this multiple times, even when the Bengals were on their run in 21-22. Let's not complain about how they win. Let's not do that. Now, I want Wes Miller out. Yes. I want Wes Miller gone tomorrow. But the key is they pulled off a great win against one of the best teams in the country. It's okay to celebrate that, and it's okay to still want the coach gone. Like, I'm not going to go out there and root against them, regardless of who they play. But it was definitely a good win, man. It was they battled from start to finish, even when they faced some adversity, and Iowa State came out in the second half, tied the game up. Normally, that goes downhill for UC. Normally, the mistakes pile up, the missed shots pile up, but they was able to kind of regroup themselves, handle some adversity, and get a big win. I mean, Big 12 don't get easy, because tomorrow you got number 1 Arizona on the road at 9 o'clock. So you don't get no easy, man. But what's crazy is in the Big 12, you can win your way out of a hole. So you get chance for big wins, and game in and game out. So, I mean, let's just see where the chips fall where they may. But I don't see them being the tournament team. And like you said, West still got to go.
At the end of the day, this would be 5 years in a row, or his 5th year as head coach, and it'd be 5 years in a row of NCAA tournaments not being achieved by the Bearcats. That's unacceptable. We all grew up during the era where we know what Bearcat basketball is, so I agree with Lance McAllister. Don't want Wes Miller up there at the podium trying to tell me what Bearcats basketball is, because I've seen it and I've lived through the golden age. That's unacceptable. And I'll bring it up again. The man that everybody wanted to run out of town that offered me my first interview as a student reporter at the News Record, old Mick Cronin, who definitely inherited way more of a chaotic mess than Wes Miller could ever dream of here in Cincinnati when he took over, has been to a Final Four since leaving Clifton. Just throw that out there. We're not even making the dance. Everybody's argument against Mick Cronin was, well, he doesn't get out of the second round. Well, you got to be in it to even have a chance to win it at all. So I'm with you, Cam. Clap it up. I'm excited for the guys, the players, my alma mater, whatever. I'm always going to be excited about that. And there's never a scenario where I want them to, lose a game. But I am keeping it in perspective. It was a big win, but bigger picture, you're talking about what Kirk Cignetti did there. I believe the administration has given Wes Miller everything that he would need and want in joining the Big 12 conference, going back to the Jordan brand uniforms. He's had some pretty significant recruits, regardless of how their tenure panned out here. I just think it's time to turn the page either way.
Yeah.
Now, Kurt, I don't know if you're a big college basketball fan. Do you still watch college hoops at all?
I tap into college more than I do football, and I agree with everything y'all saying. There's no debate here. Get him up out of here. I didn't like the hire in the first place, to be honest.
Bingo.
So,
get
him up out of here.
Now, are you on me and Cam have kind of agreed on this. Are you on the side of maybe a particular candidate in particular who you would like to see succeed?
I mean, if Nicky want to come, bring him on. Come on, Nick. Come holler at us.
Yeah, I like Nick. I mean, he got NBA coaching experience, G League coaching experience. You know what it take at the next level. And I think, he still can connect to this age kids. I mean, they could pull up a highlight of Van Exel and see him cooking folks, like, still to this day. So
and he's tough.
I think that's the perfect hire, man.
He's tough. We need somebody that's gonna bring that slap the floor grit back to UC. You know what I'm saying? Somebody that's gonna preach defense. Somebody that's gonna work with our point guard and make sure we got some solid point guard play. Like Nick Van Exel, I don't see how he hasn't been the coach.
And piggybacking on what you all have said, there's multiple reasons why I would like to see Nick Van Exel be the next head coach at UC. But two things you all just said. Number one, I brought this up before. I think that in order to know where you're going, sometimes you got to know where you've been. And you have to have somebody that has that UC, as you mentioned, they call it the CPAW ingrained in them and knows what it was like when UC was UC and how to get back there. Because oftentimes that's not something you can teach. An outsider comes in, and I know not everybody is going to be from the school or from the state, but sometimes that's exactly, what you need. Unless you get lucky and get a Hall of Fame coach like Huggins, out the mud and creates that culture. But in order to get it back, you need somebody who was familiar with where it was at. And I think relating to today's kids, he's still young enough to do so. Nick is still a no-nonsense guy. Part of what excluded him previously was him not having his degree. He finished that a few years ago, actually graduated the same day as Sauce Gardner. They both came back and got their degrees, so that's not an issue. If you look at his resume and the amount of coaching that he's done, both in the NBA and the G League, I think it would be perfect. I've seen people get hired with less credentials than Nick Van Exel.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot which one of you mentioned it. YouTube is big now. If guys don't know who Nick Van Exel is, cut on a highlight tape.
Mm-hmm.
because he pretty much gave that business to any point guard that was supposed to be anybody during the time he played, including the Hall of Famers like Gary Payton. Like
Yeah, he used to
nobody
cook
stopped
Payton.
Nick the Quick when he got on a heater. It was something to see with that left hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree.
So that's one of the people. Eric Martin, again, I'm not campaigning for anybody. I don't care what industry it is outside of sports or whatever to necessarily lose their job, but there are standards and people get held accountable for less, after a certain. This is still a program that has went to multiple Final Fours, Elite Eights, actually has 2 national championships, and that's no disrespect to the Big O and the rest of them, but I feel like we lived through the golden era of Bearcats basketball.
You got a better heart than me. Speaking as a fan, it's bit like getting fired is part of the job. So I don't have no sympathy. You knew once you got hired at some point you were going to get fired. Bye.
Hey,
I
That's all.
mean, I
it's the
I
results
agree.
business, man.
I agree at the end of the day. I'm just saying I'm not personalizing it. It's not about Wes Miller or, like Kurt's saying, necessarily having a heart or not having one. I'm just saying it is what it is. And this is one of the blue blood programs in college basketball still. I know there's a whole generation that didn't grow up on UC basketball the way we saw it achieve. But at the end of the day, once you get outside the UCLAs, the Kentuckys, the Dukes, the North Carolinas, UC is right there. With
Mm-hmm.
they're in that second tier, what do they call it, 1B, second level, like they're right there with the other program.
I mean, I mean, now you have a good enough argument to say we're kind of like Indiana, real football school now.
Ooh. I mean, and that's tough.
It's
That's tough to
debatable.
hear. I know.
Whatever
I hear
side
you.
you on, it's debatable.
And I think that's where we at far as fandom and UC, because you have a lot of the students, I say, from maybe 2010 until now. They've seen basically the kind of almost the football program do better than the basketball program. So in their minds, they've seen. I mean, granted, they lost to Alabama, but you've seen a group of four, not group of four, I'm sorry, group of five school at the time make it to a Final Four of a college football playoff when it was 4 teams. That's what unheard of.
Hmm.
Like, so you see a lot of group of fans that seen that, and all they see is the end of Mick Cronin's tenure. They seen John Brandon, and now they seen Wes Miller. They haven't seen very good basketball here as of recently. The only reason why I still say we a basketball school is because at the end of the day, no matter if you replace the coaches or not, we can still go out there and get a 5-star player, a high 4-star player. We can go out there and still recruit at a high level with the right coach and everything, and right money, of course, with NIL. With football, we still can't get those players.
Excuse my ignorance, but have we been getting 5-star players at UC?
I
Yeah,
mean, granted,
now
it
whether
ain't panning
they
out, but we just got one, a McDonald's All-American. He sucks,
well,
but he was a McDonald's
I'm not gonna go
All-American.
in on trying to be like that, but I will say yes. That's the thing, and what Cam is alluding to is very true. We can easily, just with the basketball cachet, as I say, or brand, still get 4 or 5-star recruits. If UC was to string off 10 straight wins, the coaches, the AP would automatically put them in the top 25 again, just off muscle memory because of the cachet that we carry. And I've made this point, even the guys that played football at UC and my homie Big Ronnie, it's a joke, but I'm serious when I say it. Like, I'm not clowning the football program, but see, when I say it, I'm speaking historically. How many All-Americans have the basketball program produced versus the football program? How many first-round draft picks has the basketball program produced versus the football program? I mean, it's a pretty significant, gap as far as that is concerned. And it's always going to be easier for a city school like UC or a private, small school to get 12 guys in tank tops and shorts and give them some sneakers and make a run at winning the national championship, whether it's similar schools like Louisville, Syracuse, Georgetown, private schools, city schools, versus producing, and I want to be careful when I say this, because I'm being specific, a consistent power in football. That is hard for city schools and even people like Miami, who historically have won 5 national championships. It's still hard when you're competing against bigger state schools to run that football operation and to keep that conveyor belt going, especially now, with NIL and everything like that. You could basically start over. And again, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's easier to give 12, 15 guys, some hoop shorts and a pair of Jordans and say, go at it, especially when you've had the history that you've had. I know it's been a while, but I've seen football programs bounce back too, because we were in danger. Same thing happening at Michigan. Same thing happened in Miami. There were a whole 2 decades of kids that grew up never seeing Miami win like they did this year. Never
Mm-hmm.
see Michigan win like they did a couple years ago. See, we're saying it because we're old enough to remember those powers being what they are. And I'm just saying, realistically, for UC, especially with them whining about money and stuff all the time, it is easier to tap into what your flagship program still is, which is basketball. Because anybody that wins in football is going to do exactly what Brian Kelly, Luke Fickell, and the rest of the gang did, just being honest. Like, it's not a destination school as far as football. It's a stepping stone school. Going back to D'Antonio, too, before he went to Michigan State. Like, that's just what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just the NIL really, really, it makes it tough for a school like UC to really recruit good high school players, because you gotta pick and choose, because they don't have the influx of money, of course, like in Ohio State or like some of the big programs. So they gotta pick and choose. They gotta pick and choose whether they're gonna spend their money in the portal or they're gonna get elite high school kids. They can't do both. And I think obviously right now they're putting their money towards the portal, like, bringing in someone like, former Buckeye Evan Pryor, bringing in a Sorsby who now has elevated themselves to make more money. Sorsby making $5 million now at Texas Tech. I'm quite sure Evan Pryor making $1 million plus at Florida. So they are spending money in the portal, but as far as just getting elite high school guys, it's just going to be hard for a program like UC to do both. And they have to just pick one, hopefully develop them. And unfortunately, even once they develop them, they're going to lead. They're going to lead to the SEC school or school with more money.
And people hate when I bring this up, but that article from years ago where CBS Sports named UC as the 10th, best college basketball program of all time. I've always joked, and I said, whether you believe that or not, the evidence is there. I said they're not worse than top 15 if we're talking about all time. Where would you put the football program on that list?
Point proven, man. You got your point.
I'm just saying, like, where would you put
He
them
pulling
at?
out the Stephen A. Smith
Now,
stats,
historically,
boy.
they're nowhere to be found. But I will say, if you want to say like from 2010, I would argue that they're right outside like top 30.
They in recent years, even I can admit this, the football program has outperformed the basketball program. But I think UC knows ultimately that they are a basketball school. That's why they've made the investments. I think what was the figure, Cam? How much did they spend on Nippert when they redid it?
They spent a nice amount of money.
I know. I can't remember the exact figure.
It was close to 80 plus million, maybe.
Right. Yes. So they spent $85 million on Nippert. When they redid the new basketball facility, they spent 86. So it wasn't much more, but it still lets you know where even UC believes, ultimately at the end of the day, they're going to put more money into the basketball program.
Let's be honest, they were smart about it. They knew they had to spend football money to get to the Big 12.
Right.
Once they got to the Big 12, they started allocating resources back to the basketball program. That's why it's no excuse to why basketball looks the way it looks.
Yeah, they're under performer for sure. So I just wanted to throw that out, and I do want to celebrate the fact that they beat the number 2 team in the country, but it's not changing my mind on where we need to go going forward with the basketball program. So switching over, because we were speaking about teams performing or not performing or coaches being held to a different standard, we'll go on and switch over to the NFL, and we'll talk about our beloved Cincinnati Bengals. Cam, Kurt spent a lot of time out in Colorado. He was around some Denver Bronco fans out there. They are one of 4 teams remaining in the AFC Championship game. They'll be hosting the New England Patriots, who are back where they spent most of their time of us growing up. Kurt was also a fan of the Patriots, or more so Tom Brady, growing up. He loved it. Tom Brady. Didn't you have an authentic Tom Brady jersey when we were in high school, Kurt?
Not Tom Brady. I had an Aaron Hernandez. That's the only Patriots jersey I had.
Oh, Lord.
A good one too.
we won't even go there, but what Fab say, you better come Aaron like Hernandez.
Mhm.
But it's funny watching certain teams. Yesterday, Sean McDermott got the boot from Buffalo.
9 years, yeah.
9 years, and he's made the playoffs 8 times. I believe 2 AFC Championship games, and he gets the boot. I brought up other teams. Baltimore thought it was time after 18 years to get rid of John Harbaugh. Mike Tomlin may have stepped down on his own. A shout out to the Rooney family for allowing him to do that. But there was a lot of noise, from the outside, even there locally in Pittsburgh. Pete Carroll's a Super Bowl winning head coach, got the boot out there with the Raiders. Raheem Morris, I still think, should have at least been given a 3rd year down there in Atlanta with what he was doing. I look at these other organizations and I see coaches that have had way more consistent success, and they get the boot. And we get this stale response here from an ownership that y'all notice. I usually go out of my way to protect. I've been criticized on here because I don't allow criticism of Mr. Brown or Katie on here. But I'm starting to get pissed off on how steadfast they are on keeping Zach, on keeping Duke Tobin in the front office. And I'm seeing other teams. I mean, they were one play away from being back in the AFC Championship. And yes, I made fun of Josh Allen because he's a media darling, and I know people like him more than they like Joe Burrow, which I can't understand for the life of me. But I made the point this time he lost, and he didn't have to go through Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, or Patrick Mahomes, and he still found a way to not end up in the Super Bowl. But again, the difference in certain organizations and their expectations versus here, it has to be frustrating to Bengals fans.
You want to go, Kurt?
I mean, it definitely is. You just hear different owners speak, the ones that do speak sometimes, or you hear about them. And one thing the Bengals have always been good at is their bottom line, and that's making money. It's being good on the business side of things. What comes with that, as you all know, is you don't want to pay players what they deserve. You don't want to spend money in free agency to get players you need. You want to try to maximize your profits as much as possible. And we just happen to be that organization where if I fire Zach Taylor, is this going to cost me extra money, or is it cheap it or keep it, cheap it or keep it, as they say? So I feel like their bottom line is always going to come back to being money related. um, versus football related, but different from a place like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like Jerry Jones, as crazy and wacko as he seems to be, he seems to care about winning. He's going to sign players. He's going to make moves. Certain owners are going to do things to make moves. Steve Ballmer in the NBA, there's a whole scandal that went on. We don't have to get into that, but where allegedly he's trying to do things to help his team win. No matter what it costs, no matter what he has to do, that's his mentality. Our mentality is let's make a profit, and we're not going to be successful if we keep that mentality.
Go ahead, Cam.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. To a certain degree, it's unfortunate because you see a lot of these owners, man, and their team is like having a yacht. They put money into the yacht. You know what I mean? They have other businesses that they have that make them more money than what the NFL is making for them.
What up,
Mhm.
Rod?
So it's hard. Like the owner for the Denver Broncos. That's the Walmart guy. He can spend crazy and not worry about a mistake in free agency. He could go ahead, cut a player, buy him out, get another guy. It's like we like Pleasant Ridge Chili going up against a bunch of Skylines. We a mom and pop shop. And for real, so we have to look at our bottom line. As crazy as it sounds, they got to make money per year to keep going. And the key is though is the top, and it's Duke Tobin. Whoever selected these players, whether it's Duke, Mike, Katie, and they phased Elizabeth out, and she's the smartest, by the way. But I won't go into that. But those seem like on Troy Blackburn, those four seem like they the ones that's making these choices when it comes to drafting. If the Bengals was drafting correctly, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about this.
Brother Chris.
What's going on, Chris? Like, if they was drafting right, if they had the draft that they had in 2020 where you get a Burrow, you get a Logan Wilson, you get a King Davis-Gates, you get a T. Higgins, you get 4 or 5 starters or 4 or 5 rotational players that can play, we're not sitting up here talking about this right now. But the problem is, and I say it all the time, the Bengals are not bad at when to let a player go. Not all the time. Bates was one that they should have never let out the building. But if you look at even DJ Reader, he slowed down a little bit. But it's the replacements they bring in. It's the draft picks that they pick to replace them that are just bad. And it makes it look bad when you do let go of a player because they don't fill them. Because you look at Kansas City, they didn't pay Tyrann Mathieu, but guess what? They drafted Brian Cook to replace him. Good replacement, someone that can hold the fort down. They let go of Snead at corner. They drafted Trent McDuffie, all pro. So it don't look bad. They let go of.
It never looks bad when you hit. And you're making my point for me because you highlighted a few things that are definitely true with the Bengals. We have to be honest. There's not an unlimited bag when it comes to the Bengals. I hate the excuse, but they are a small market team. Another thing that Kurt mentioned Jerry Jones. Dallas Cowboy fans would argue the recent Jerry Jones versus the one we grew up on as far as his spending. But still, Jerry came into this game with chicken already. He was an oil man. That's how he purchased the Cowboys. A lot of these other owners, like you just mentioned, the Walmart guy owns, the Denver Broncos. The reason they can do these certain things is because they have chicken, they have assets already. Football is the Brown family's revenue. They don't have anything else. That is how the original Mr. Brown, who was a football guy, who was great at drafting, selecting talent, running an organization, made his money. He won a championship at every level. He won a state championship at Massillon High School. He won the Ohio State University's first national championship in 1942. He won multiple NFL championships with the Browns before his ownership stake was bought out there and he was forced out of Cleveland. So when he reinvested and founded the Bengals here in Cincinnati, it was still based off football money. That's all they have. Now, yes, they're in a much better position than I would even say, Mr. Brown was when he founded the Bengals. But that's why they view it the way they do. They have to be careful. They have to do things like even selling the naming rights on the stadium, which they did not want to do. They would have loved to have kept it, in Mr. Brown, the original Mr. Brown, Paul Brown's name. But in order to adapt to today's time, get that additional revenue, be able to pay Jamar Chase $40 million a year, T. Higgins $30 million, and the Joe Burrow contract, they had to adapt. So there are still things that they could do better, but I think what Cam hit on is another thing. We got extremely lucky that Joe Burrow fell into our lap, and that I can't believe I'm saying this, but in a certain sense, that he injured his knee his rookie year, because they wouldn't have had the record that they had to be able to draft Jamar Chase the following year. These are things that fell into their lap. T. Higgins in the second round. The free agents that you mentioned, the underrated signings who overachieved for us. Larry Ogunjobi, even though he was only here for 1 year. Mike Hilton.
I love Mike Hilton.
Mike
my
Hilton
dog.
turned into the best slot corner in the league for about a 3-year period.
But he's just a good football player. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Von Bell was a very trendy signing. People didn't know that Trey Hendrickson was going to be what he was when he came here, because everybody was saying, is that a product of Cam Jordan on the other side of him down in New Orleans? DJ Reader, probably one of the most important signings of that time that nobody paid attention to. They hit on all of these people. The draft picks came in and produced well. Nobody wants to talk good about it now, but a Cam Taylor-Britt was not a bad player when Wu was on the other side of him.
Cam Taylor-Britt wasn't a bad player until he started going to the clubs and started drinking that.
Okay, we can say that, but I'm keeping it. I'm keeping it strictly.
I want to know
football.
when he was ever a good player.
I'm keeping
we
it
don't got to
strictly
debate that.
I'm keeping it strictly football.
He's the most undisciplined corner we've had here in years.
How you prepare
is part of it, but certain guys were not
He's a
meant
bag
to
of
be
chips.
a quarter. Okay, certain guys were not meant to be a CB1, because I made the point about
RCB2.
Will constantly would bring up Eli Apple, as did a lot of people here, and I always made the point of what he was brought in here to do versus what injuries forced him to do. And by the way, he still performed better than some replacements that
he made timely plays.
Oh, he's had some of the most timely plays in Bengals history, including that open field tackle on Tyreek Hill in the AFC Championship. Should go down and
at the 1 yard line.
Yeah,
that was clutch.
Should go down in Bengals lore. But what I'm saying is, so when you don't hit on guys like this, and you are a small market team like Cincinnati, you can't. And I don't want to single anybody out, but you can't miss on first round draft picks if you're the Bengals, because they're not aggressive enough in free agency to cover up for that. I would honestly argue that you need your second and third round picks to produce too. You can't have Burtons that end up doing absolutely nothing for us and was a wasted pick like that. That's going to set you back if you're the Bengals. Now, nobody hits on every pick, but like you said, Cam, and why I said as far as general manager or director of player personnel, I would love for Marvin Lewis to be brought back into the fold. He rarely missed on guys unless it was an injury or somebody doing something stupid off the field. Except for a few towards the very end, the Abwegis, the Jake Fishers, and so forth.
Yeah.
Usually you at least got a serviceable guy. And then we were so competitive at that time towards the end of the Marvin thing, they almost redshirted rookies to where they didn't have to come in right away and contribute. Now we're not in that position, and we're in a Super Bowl bust mentality because of the offensive money that you spent on the offensive guys and them being in their prime. We can't have a guy come in, I'm just throwing it out there, who got 4.5 sacks in 3 years in college and say, we're going to rest our morals with 16 pick on a developmental guy.
Yeah.
That's how you end up in this position.
Yep. Yep. And it's, and
Chris
I
said,
mean,
hold on. Chris said drafting would be easier if we had more scouts flat out, which is true. Let's not forget we drafted John Ross over Mahomes. That hurts too. We hit on the can't miss guys like Joe and AJ and Chase. So I mean, that's very true because they're obvious. I look back to when we had Lamar Jackson here for an in-person interview prior to the draft, and let's not forget he lasted till pick 32 in the second round. Which, again, when we talk about scouting and guys that just know it, and this ain't analytics, this is takes one to know one. So the great Ozzie Newsome was the Baltimore Ravens general manager for years. His first two picks, he had 2 first-round draft picks when he took over his full-time GM in '96 of the Ravens when they moved. His first 2 picks were Jonathan Ogden and Ray Lewis. His last pick out the door, his gift to the Baltimore Ravens, was Lamar Jackson, pick number 32.
just knowing football, players are players. I mean, you know what I mean? And sometimes it's like the Bengals. How can I say this? And I'm not disputing like they want to win, because I know they want to win, but they want to do it their way. They want to do it their way. But sometimes it just seems like a player is right there for us to take. And everybody knows we should take this person. And they don't take them. It's like me, you, Kurt, anybody could make the draft pick sitting right in front of us. And they will
And
do something like,
we
you
turn into
know,
the Cleveland Cavaliers with Anthony Bennett. Like we just draft the
Basically,
most. Like what?
silly.
I really
But,
do think that they get off on going against the grain sometimes. Now, I'm
they
not
do.
down there, but it just seems that way when, like you said, there's an obvious choice. Like, for instance, this year, I don't know how it's going to unfold. A lot of guys have made themselves in the top 10, top 15 consideration. But I'm telling you right now, if by some chance, and there's a chance that they may not be there, if Reuben Bain or Caleb Downs is sitting there when the Bengals are on the clock and they do anything other than turn that card in, case in point.
Yep. And
I
I'm gonna
know
be
who Caleb
honest. Like,
Downs
it
is.
seems
Who's the
like
other
they
guy you
try to get
mentioned?
developmental guys.
Reuben Bain, the defensive end from Miami, number 4.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes it seems like they want to get guys that they can sit and develop them, and then they have maybe like one good year before their contract is up, so they don't have to pay them a lot.
How that
That
worked for Dax Hill.
that that's like the whole Dax Hill thing. And me and Al argue about this. Is that I feel like they did Dax Hill dirty. You never had a plan for him. You started maybe you had Jesse Bates there, and you was gonna keep him an extra year, so it was gonna redshirt him at safety. Oh, then they said, oh, we got some injuries. Let's put him at slot. Let's try him on the outside. And now finally the last 6 weeks of the year, you put him on the outside corner, which was his best 6 weeks of his career. I just don't understand. The Bengals do this with linemen. They do this with other players. They try to pick a player and put him somewhere else. How about you just play the kid where he's been at in college, whether it's slot outside corner or just like Jackson Carman, you use that tackle. You want to move him to guard, then moving back to tackle. Um, we do it too much.
Speaking of Dax Hill,
I know, I know you feel like that.
let's go. Okay, so I've made the point before, and everybody calls me biased, and I'm like, whatever. When your roster was littered with players from you went to a Super Bowl and 2 AFC championships. When you started going with the hype, and this is back to what Brother Chris said about having the smallest scouting department in the league. And the funny part is, it's still larger than it was when Marvin was here, but it's still the smallest scouting department in the league. When you start going off trends instead of actually doing your research, or this program is producing this, or usually we like getting a guy from here. I mean, everybody has, their programs that they like or guys that fit their system, like i.e. the Pittsburgh Steelers have no problem going to Columbus, Ohio and drafting players from there and pretty much all pan out. I mean, Cam Hayward is the last Jim Tressel Buckeye still in the league. He's still producing at almost 40 years old. But when I made this comment about Michigan, they had a group of guys for a couple years that it was proven they were cheating. Okay. Even if the players didn't know exactly about it, which I doubt, the coaches definitely did. And when you start looking at defensive guys that were benefiting because there was a sign stealing scandal that was taking place, it's not hard to look good when you know what's coming. I've been a little disappointed. One of the guys that I thought was going to produce that we drafted from Ann Arbor was Chris Jenkins up front. He's been a little bit more quiet than I expected up front. Even in McKinley Jackson, it just seems like they don't want to play him, or he's not comfortable in the system. Whatever the case is, when you miss on guys top 3, rounds in the draft, the Bengals are going to be in trouble because we don't supplement it by free agency. The overwhelming philosophy has been we keep our own guys. Great. We know what we did offensively. We acquiesced. We got Joe. We got Jamar T. I feel like every Bengals fan knew that had to happen or wanted that to happen. Nobody's arguing about that, right? Like we wanted all 3 of them back.
Yeah.
But now it's really important. You can't miss. And we don't need a Baltimore Ravens 2000 defense to win with the offense that we got. We need a middle of the pack. Don't give it up. As Chase Brown said, play complimentary football. Hey, we got the Bears with 30 seconds left. Let's get off the field. Let's win.
Need some guys who can freaking tackle.
Yeah, but I'm not even as hard on the rookie linebackers like everybody else was.
I love our linebackers.
I feel like Barrett Carter and Demetrius Knight are going to be good football players.
Knight is going to be a beast.
Yeah.
But they aren't the only 2 people on the defense. It's 9 other people. They aren't responsible for making every tackle.
No, but that defensive line, like I mentioned, is pretty much cheese right now. I saw Myles Murphy start to turn the corner a little bit towards the end of the year, and I don't know if there's some upside there or just him benefiting from actually getting more playing time now. But I made the comment to Cam, and I wasn't being funny, but this is where me and Cam disagree sometimes, because Cam was like, well, man, he's been playing good the last 3-4 games. I said, Cam, he's been here 3 years, man.
He ain't playing. Lou Bear. We asked it, like that's my issue though. That was my only issue with Lou. Like, you can't draft guys. You picked him. You selected him and said, this is your guy at 28 with Myles Murphy. With Nolan Smith and all these guys on the board, you picked Myles Murphy. You picked Myles Murphy. And then you don't play him. The only way these rookies get better is by being on the field. Like with the Chiefs, they draft a George Karlaftis, whatever. They put him on the field. They ain't burying behind, Frank Clark and all that. They put him on the field, mixed him in with some packages, and let him play.
A good football player is going to show up.
That's important too. But the teams that you mentioned, Cam, because you said this earlier about the Bills and the Chiefs, teams that have let high-profile guys go, like a Stephon Diggs, out the door, in Buffalo, some other top-tier wide receivers, and Josh Allen has found a way to keep doing it. Well, it's not just Josh Allen. It's the organization finding those other options that might be a little bit cheaper, developing their own guys and doing their homework. Chiefs, same thing. But what I would say with the Chiefs, though, it's a little bit different when you have a Patrick Mahomes and you have an Andy Reid who is an all-timer, as far as a head coach. So, yeah, they were able to let some high-profile guys go, like the Honey Badger and other guys that they're like, we might be able to get by without them. I thought they were done when they let the cheetah go, Tyreek Hill. but they've let some running backs go. They've had a revolving door with that. Now they got Pacheco. So you have to hit if you take those chances. And unfortunately, we didn't, because the best, worst kept secret in the world was that Jesse Bates was not coming back. As bad as I wanted him, and I still think he's probably the greatest free safety in Bengals history, as far as especially us drafting and him producing from day one and being an all-pro. The plan, at least initially, was Dax Hill was supposed to replace him. You know that? I know that. Didn't work out. There were some other guys that were supposed to be replacements. I look at Sheldon Rankins coming in after losing DJ Reader. He didn't do a damn thing here.
But
I cut on the game the other day. He's back with the Houston Texans again in what, year 10, 11, and he's running down the field with the ball after stripping it from Aaron Rodgers.
But see, that's another thing though. Like, he's not a nose tackle. Guess what we did when we tried to get Sheldon Rank?
Tried
We put
to
him
make
at
the
nose.
tackle.
He's not a nose. He a 3-tech. He's a pass rushing D tackle that we wanted to be a run stuffer. Like, that's what the Bengals do. They get players and try to force a square peg into a round hole, and it never works that way. It don't work that way in football. You know that, Al. You train and, you know, all your life to play this one position, and in year 10 you're gonna do something different.
Well, I talked about that with Josh Jackson Carmen. You know, we had that discussion when you were asking me why he wasn't able to make the transition or why he was struggling. And like I said, because his muscle memory, his whole career was at tackle. See, you don't do stuff like that where I change a guy, or maybe let me see if he can play inside or moving the guard, or can he play nickel like Leon Hall did when he started to slow down. You don't do that till a guy has been in the league multiple years, proven that he can perform at this level, and gave you the film work to say, hey, this guy can do this. You start messing with a guy coming through the door, and you know his kickback, his drop step, all of that, you know, changes his movement going from guard to tackle. That's significant. I was surprised that Penei Sewell has turned. Well, I'm not surprised that Penei Sewell has turned into an all-pro offensive tackle. We argued that, Cam. You know, our debates about that were legendary. But and I don't think anybody would trade Uno at this point. But my point proven.
Both all pros.
Exactly. My point was well proven that he can play football, but I was worried about Detroit moving him to right tackle. You know, but he was just enough of a pro and just a generational guy where he made it work. But it's thrifty. It's sometimes trying to outthink yourself when you do that with guys and players, and that's how you end up, you know, in this position. And I wish they would just kind of go with conventional, you know, wisdom in certain aspects. Because I asked you too, Kurt, before we get on to the AFC and NFC Championship games. I said, well, if you're the Bengals this year and the draft coming up, do you take best player available or do you draft for need? I know what my answer is.
Yeah.
I mean, off the top of my head, you say need, but the question has to be asked. It depends on who the best player available is. I mean, if it's not a generational talent, then you draft for need. But if it's somebody that's like could potentially change your organization.
Brother Chris answered quickly. He said best player available.
No, I get what Kurt's saying. Like, the best player available got to really be generational.
So you know I'm throwing it out there, and I don't give a damn if they call me biased or not. The best player available, if he's there when the Bengals pick, if Caleb Downs is there, you are running that card.
Well, absolutely, but safety is a need.
Yeah, and it's a need for us too. I would run.
If that person is defense,
I would. But the only thing is, we know our Bengals. We've never drafted a first round safety. and we don't go against the grain when it comes to stuff like that. I'm not saying you're wrong, Al. I would rush to the give that card to the commissioner too. All I'm saying is if the Bengals come up and you're gonna be mad, and there's Caleb Downs on the board and there's Peter Woods on the board for Clemson.
Oh Lord.
You know where they going at D tackle. You know they going with that D tackle. You know it, and I know it. And you're gonna be mad. You're gonna be calling me like, "Cam, I'm done with the Bengals." They won't pick no Buckeye, but we know it. They will pick a guy like that over a Caleb Downs, and they shouldn't.
But you know what the real answer is? Like Nick Lachey said, and I hate to say this, but the more we continue to run down there and Patreon the businesses and Cam, you see the ticket holder. You know, I used to be way back in the day. They're gonna keep doing it. You know, the only time they went outside of the box was when things got really desperate. You remember in 2002, I think we went 2-14. It was Dick LeBeau's last year, and like Bengals fans were like done. Like even the paper bag wearers weren't going to the game anymore. We had to shake something up. We had to get Marvin Lewis. Towards the end of the Marvin Lewis thing, I think everybody was done because it was like, 16 years, man. Like Marvin's taking us as far as he can. He restored respectability. We got to do something different. Now, I'm on record and will remain on record that I still think Zach Taylor was a huge mistake. I don't think he was qualified to be an NFL head coach. I still don't believe he is. Still believe they're winning in spite of, not because of. And now you can't even say that because they're not winning with him, regardless if you have Joe Burrow in the lineup or not. I think we've all gotten a little fool's gold because we're living off what happened 2 or 3 years ago. And it's like Lance McAllister said, we've only made the playoffs twice the past 10 years. Yeah, we went far. We saw some dreams happen that a lot of us thought we might go on this planet and not ever see. But doing something twice in 10 years is not considered successful. Like I said, we've seen head coaches like McDermott that just got fired for going 8 times out of 9 years. Like what you're doing is not working. And that's where the frustration comes, is that the unwillingness to change. Because I'm with you, Cam. I've never thought that the Brown family don't want to win. I've never said that, and I never will. But they want to win their way, and they're okay with not if that don't work out. Because they're not going to step outside of how they run things. And I've had to accept that. This is their team. They happen to run their operations here. But they're going to do what they want to do with their football team.
Yep.
That's just the bottom line. Brother Chris said, good chance Downs or Baines won't be there. I like the Texas Tech.
I do too.
He don't wear gloves, so I know he a monster.
I actually like Bailey. I think he's going to be really good too.
Yeah, sometimes you do need them rolling up in the dirt. Don't wear gloves like Jamal Lewis back in the day or Eric Berry back there at safety. Just go out and play football. I can't remember the last Texas Tech defensive player that did anything in the league.
But they spent that money. It's a new day, and they spent.
I guess
they spent a lot of money on that defense. That's what I will say. But NIL, man, talent spread around everywhere. So
there's a possibility that Downs won't be there, particularly depending on what he does in the underwear Olympics, as I call it, because people are finding him already. And what I mean by the underwear Olympics, if people don't know, is the NFL Combine. So if Caleb Downs runs anything under a 4.5, yeah, there's a possibility he won't last till, what is it, pick 9, 10 we got?
10.
That's
he especially with Moore going back to school. That pushes a lot more positional players up. I don't see Downs or Bain falling to us. I really don't.
And Bain was already a dog, but Lord knows when he showed out in that Cotton Bowl versus them Buckeyes, oh man, he just ensured that he would
Might
be
be the
the
number
top
2 pick in the draft.
pick. I told you everybody's Super Bowl is against them Buckeyes, but again, we are in danger, and I know T's got on here, and she's a firm believer that the Bengals have already wasted Joe Burrow's career. I'm not ready to say that yet, but
It's getting there, man.
as Steve Harvey would say, but Joe Burrow will turn 30 this season.
I agree with that, but he also just frail. Call a spade a spade. Like, yeah, we have wasted his years. We could have did things to make it better, but I mean, he is a frail body. He ain't drink enough milk.
Yeah, that turf toe was just accident. I mean, that was just unfortunate. Honestly, the hand injury was unfortunate.
Joe Burrow has never had an offensive line that graded out of the bottom 5% in rankings since he's been in the league. Joe Burrow
This year it has.
disproportionately. Okay, this year. Prior to this year,
Yeah.
Joe Burrow has disproportionately been hit more than any other quarterback if you cut on an NFL game. So I get what everybody's saying and blah, 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 but I'm not going there because if it wasn't for Joe Burrow, again, we wouldn't even be having this discussion. City Council had their heels dug in, waiting for that lease to expire in 2026 and was willing to say bye-bye to the Bengals, and then we'd be having a whole nother discussion at this point. Joe Burrow is the reason why they still here. And again, I'm not saying there haven't been other players that have come in and contributed, but I can't go there on Joey B.
Oh no, Joey B is a big reason why why you still see the stadium full. You still want to see Nav perform. We still want to see the offense perform.
Brother Rod said Joe is playing for the wrong coach. Well, you get no argument from me, brother. I've always been a proponent of wanting to hear what he said in that meeting with Katie that just swayed her to make that decision, because I remember even Mr. Brown saying I didn't make this hire, Katie did. He wanted to throw that distinction out there. Now, of course, those of us that know the Bengals know that regardless, even if that was the case, we know Mr. Brown had to, sign off on it. Like, I ain't never, as long as he's breathing, I'm not buying that he didn't have final say, even if it wasn't his decision. But I feel like we've spoken nauseum on here about Zach and why he's wrong coach. One thing I agree with Kurt, I said that back in 2019. I'm not changing that. Obviously, the pick may have not been Eric Bieniemy either, but it wasn't Zach Taylor either.
Nope.
It's really not. And that's why I said, I know me and Cam talked about this off the record. From a football perspective, John Gruden is the right head coach for Joe Burrow and to win right now. There's a number of reasons why that won't happen. A lot of it is off the field. Some people would argue it's money. Man, I think he'd take a pay cut to get back in the league.
I think you just made the worst, your first worst take of 2026. John Gruden could stay where I don't think he I think his coaching style is dated. He doesn't seem to register. That was a nightmare in Oakland. It just didn't look good. I don't know. That's another bottom of the barrel organization. So I give him that, but I don't know. John Gruden?
The Raiders the Raiders are going to make anybody look like that.
Bring the cat from Miami up here. Like, somebody that's going to get creative with the play calling. I'm not saying the head coach. I'm not saying to be the head coach. I'm just saying we need some new faces there.
I just feel like the defensive roster has to get better.
Is the roster or is it the coaching?
I
It's
disagree.
both.
The defensive side of the ball don't have any A players on it. Minus
It
Trey
don't, but
Hendrickson,
also
there's
you
no A
need
player.
a getting your ass pause. Even a Mike Zimmer at defensive coordinator type person that's going to hold somebody accountable at this point. Like, we can't do the Mike McDaniels vaping on the sideline, trying to be hip in today's player. Like, to me, that's Zach Taylor all over again. Like, you need opposite. Okay, when you have guys, and I hate to say it, but I'm going to throw it out there. When you have guys spitting in people's faces and just not locked in anymore and not believing in the current coaching or system that's in place, and basically all but saying it, every week in interviews, you need somebody that's going to come in and hold people accountable. Does the whole Bill Parcells thing work like it used to? No, but you got to find a middle ground to do that. And that's what they need right now. We don't need any more cheerleaders and patting people on the butt. Like, you need somebody that's going to come in and wreck shop at this point.
I agree with that.
It's fair.
There are certain guys that are a little bit dated, because one idea that I had that everybody's like, no. And I'm like, even a defensive coordinator, I was saying like Rex Ryan or somebody like that.
I said Rex Ryan for head coach. Bring him in to be the coach. That's who I would bring in. Rex Ryan.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you need a different style voice at this point.
Hey, I'm just open to anything that gets us back to winning, and that's it. That's it. But we could definitely get to them championship games.
Yeah. So closing out with that, I think the Broncos had buzzard luck because they advanced to the AFC Championship, but their quarterback Bo Nix breaks his ankle on the second to last play of the game and is obviously out for the remainder of the playoffs of the season, and you got to roll with Stidham. So now it's looking like we might see a Patriots Seahawks Super Bowl without the Legion of Boom or Tom Brady to make it exciting. Now we're going to watch because it's the Super Bowl, but I think the 49ers knew that I had placed a bet on them because the way they came out and was sloppy and gave the ball away purposely, 17-0. And I won't say what bet I placed, but 17-0 in the first quarter was ugly.
Well, they lost on the kickoff return. Yeah. And that's what's great. When he ran the opening kickoff back, they lost the game.
I mean, that does set things in play, but you could have responded from that. I'm not saying that it wouldn't have been tough, but you could have responded from that. But when you start fumbling and I'm like, and thank you for reminding me of that, because you like that status that I posted. And I said, I noticed this from when I coached in high school, the games that I go to, I watch it in college football, I watch it in pro football now. I feel like today's player doesn't have the understanding of the moment like previous eras did. Sometimes even more important than getting that extra yard or trying to break something that ain't really there is holding on to the damn football.
Mm-hmm.
You can't win high stakes pressure postseason games by losing the turnover battle. Very rarely do you see a game where a team that loses the turnover battle in these late stage games win the actual game. Like, hold on to the football. You can't be that sloppy with the football, man. Like, do you not understand that possession is more important than anything? Like, that just bothers me when I watch players get all willy-nilly with the football. That's why Coach Boone said, and you fumble my football, I will break my foot off in your John Brown hind parts, and then you will run a mile.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Johnson used to cut players for fumbling the football.
On spot.
It's that important, man. That's just my take on it. So I want to get a pick from the remaining teams that are in there in the NFC Championship. We have the Los Angeles Rams and the ageless wonder and Matt Stafford versus the don't have a superstar but play well as a collective team, Seattle Seahawks in the NFC. And in the AFC, my man Mike Vrabel, that former All-American Buckeye. It ain't pretty, but he's recreated the Patriot way versus the Denver Broncos. Kurt, who you got advancing to the Super Bowl?
I'm gonna go with Broncos, Seahawks.
Broncos.
Broncos have a defense, obviously one of the best in the league, that can keep them in the game. And I just feel like it's going to be one of those things that nobody is expecting to happen. That's going to happen with Denver. Um, so I'm gonna go with Denver on that side, and Seattle. I just like how they play. Like every year watching football, there's like teams that you look at, well, that I look at, and I'm like, that team could win a Super Bowl. And to my own horn, a lot of the times, like I'll be right. Like within like usually some of those teams are like the last few teams that are involved in the playoffs or whatever, like in the championship games. They just pass an eye test, a certain eye test, like where they're doing everything right and not getting penalized a lot. They're moving the ball. Um, my favorite thing about Tom Brady was you just take what the defense gives you. I mean, of course, you make big plays, but it's you turn football into a game of chess, and certain teams look like they just play chess well. Um, I think Seattle is one of those people. Seattle and the Rams are both teams like that. Puka is on another world,
I
but
got so tired of hearing them say that damn man's name. It's like they enjoy saying certain players' names. But what I will give Sean McVay is he went against his inclination to throw the ball around the field, and he realized the thing that they were doing best over the weekend was running the football. And
mm,
they were physical, and they basically took advantage of something I didn't think the Bears were that weak up front. And maybe they weren't. Maybe the Rams were just executing. But to go against what he likes to do, Zach Taylor could learn something from his former boss and looking at that and allowing situation and what's taking place on the field to take precedent over what you want to do.
chess match, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I agree that the Seahawks have that look. I still feel like they're one of those teams. Oftentimes you hear people say it about players. They don't do anything particularly great, but they do everything well. And they don't really have a weakness right now that's showing. They'll do whatever they need to do to get the victory. And they have guys that can get it done. I'm actually hoping as a Bengals fan that the Seahawks obviously beat the Rams. Like they'll never get me to root for them after ruining what would have been my life's dream come
They
true.
cheated.
And that's another story. That pass interference that wasn't pass interference.
That
But,
was the craziest shit I ever seen.
my man, one of my favorite Bengals of all time. If Tyler Boyd hangs on to that third down catch, we're not even talking about this right now. Football is a cause and effect game, and things happen for a reason. But in the AFC, I did pick the Broncos at the beginning of the playoffs to get there, but that was provided that Bo Nix was still out there because he does off the cuff things. He extends plays, even when what's his coach's name slips my mind right now. Yeah, even when Sean Payton, tries to be the mad scientist and draw stuff up this, out of this world. Sometimes it don't work, and Bo Nix just goes out there and becomes Bo Nix and makes it done. I think they're gonna miss that. Playing at altitude in the second half comes into play too. But I think with that ugly style that the Patriots play, I'm gonna pick the Patriots and Seahawks to advance.
All right. What's crazy is I still got the Broncos advancing for some reason. I don't know why. I know it's Jared Stidham back there. Um, but sometimes, having minimal film on a guy, like, granted, he played, started for the Patriots, but it's a whole different system. And just, it's a couple things that, can catch you off guard with a new quarterback. Uh, and I think you may see that with Denver. Like you say, altitude plays a factor as well. And they at home. They got a chance. That defense is really, really good. Uh, Drake May made some plays last week, but Texas got that ball too. They got 3 turnovers as well. It just so happened that Texas gave them 5.
Yeah.
Uh, so I like Denver from the AFC. Hey, I'm going with Matthew Stafford, man. I'm going with the Rams over the
Yeah.
Seahawks because I feel like Sam Darnold's going to have that Andy Dalton moment. And Sam Darnold didn't have to do anything against the 49ers. Everything was on the silver platter for him. Like, literally, it was just what he maybe threw for, what he had about 8-9 completions, 100-something yards. Like, he didn't have to do much. Like, the game was over that 17-0. It was over like that. Matthew Stafford, I don't think is going to make those mistakes. I think he's going to put the pressure on Sam Darnold to have to, hey, you're going to have to make a play. You're going to have to will this team to victory. It ain't going to be the defense. It's going to have to be you going to have to make a play. And I don't think Sam Darnold, with the lights the brightest, going to be able to do it. So I got the Rams, and I got the Broncos.
And one thing about the Rams, this is a little
Sound
off topic, but this is the bias coming out of me. I don't know if you all saw that graphic where they were listing the best wide receiver in the league by year, and they went back, I don't know, it may have even been in the 80s and 90s. And then they had this year, they had Puka Nacua. Let me tell you something. Jamar Chase is still the best wide receiver on the
Best
planet.
wide receiver last 2 seasons.
Like, I don't want to hear that. But no, those are interesting picks. I want to get Kurt one last topic before we get out of here. Just the game of boxing to me is missing some marquee fights. That's why we have these farces that they call celebrity boxing exhibition matches out here, just trying to generate something. Netflix has capitalized on that now big time. One of the fights that people were looking forward to as far as a mega fight, even though they're probably both a little bit past their prime at this point, was Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury. Don't know that that's going to happen now. Anthony Joshua survived a nearly fatal car crash in Nigeria probably less than a week after that fight. It actually did claim the life of 2 of his Team Joshua teammates and trainers with him. So he's still in recovery, both mentally and physically. But the fight that they're throwing out there now, and I can't believe this is happening, is there's negotiation for the Bronze Bomber, Deontay Wilder versus Usyk. If that does happen, Cam, I want your opinion too, because you're a boxer guy too. But Kurt, we go back since high school talking about boxing. Is there any chance in hell that you see Deontay Wilder having a chance to beat Alexander Usyk?
Well, you said, is there a chance in hell? Yes, because
That right
Deontay
hand.
Wilder still has a very powerful right hand, and if it connects, you are going bye bye. So yes, do I think there's a chance in hell? Yes, but a chance in reality? No fucking way. Oh, sorry, I didn't even mean to curse, but
Good.
no way. In no way, no way. He should sit that. He should not. He should not ever.
Hey,
Yeah.
all money ain't good money, man. All money ain't good money. Hey, listen, man. Juszczyk is taking down everybody. He's the best in that weight class right now. And Deontay Wilder, he got the right hand, so he could land that. and and could win the fight. But it's just a fighter like Usyk is gonna be waiting on that. I mean, I just don't want to see Wilder get beat up too bad again. I don't want. I honestly don't want to see the fight. I don't want to see the fight. I don't want to see him get his butt whooped, man. I thought Bronze
I don't
Bomber
want to
was gonna
see it,
ride
but
off
I'm
into
going to
the
watch
sunset
it.
and be cool.
I don't want to see it, but I'm going to watch it if it comes on.
Of course, I'm gonna watch it.
I might
don't
even
wanna
drive
see
up there and watch it with Captain Kurt.
I don't want to see this, man. I think it's gonna be bad. Honestly, I think it's gonna be a lopsided fight.
That right hand is the eraser, though.
It is. He got to land it though. It's so telegraphed now.
It's always been telegraphed.
Yeah, but when you get older, you get a little slower. You won't get faster.
Usyk is the mongoose, man. His movements are so awkward. The ranges that he keeps you at, I'm not even a fan of it because I don't think it's entertaining boxing to watch his style in particular. I was actually happy that he knocked out Dubois because I'm like, wow, that was an entertaining Usyk fight. Because normally you don't get that. Normally he runs for 12 rounds and proves that he's a cruiserweight that's masquerading as a heavyweight and outboxes his opponent and stays at angles and just does just enough to win on the scorecards. And you're like, man, go sit down somewhere. But he actually had an entertaining fight. So yeah, I'm looking forward to, if it does happen, going over somebody's crib and watching it, having a first fight party of 2026. So folks, that's all we want.
No, it's a fight in 2 weeks that I'll be watching.
What's that?
Shakur, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Teo.
I'm gonna be
That's
watching
a good fight. Now you probably think it's a boring fight because Shakur, right, and his fighting style, but he can box, man.
If I'm betting my money, I'm betting it on Teo though. I love Shakur, but I don't know. If I'm betting my money, I'm putting it on Teo. I'm just
not big on Shakur for a couple reasons.
I love Shakur.
Even outside of the ring, his disrespect towards rappers and people like Cam and Mace, and
he's just young. He don't know no better.
I ain't gotta respect blah blah blah.
He a YN.
All these rappers, yeah, he could be a YN, and guess what, YN, you're named after a rapper, quite possibly the greatest rapper of all time. Your mother named you after, and then you go, okay. Anyway,
that's gonna be a good fight, though. It's gonna be a good fight.
Yeah, I'm taking his opponent also.
You taking Teo?
Yeah, I'm taking Teo.
But if he wins this fight, he wins me. He win me all the way over though. If he wins this fight, I'm sold.
He don't look nervous to you in the lead up to this fight. I'm speaking to Shakur.
He always looks like that to me.
Talking a little bit more than he is, a little bit more antics than he usually does lead up to the fight.
I think he knows a big fight for him too.
He's been told how boring he is. He don't sell fights. Like, that's what he's supposed to do.
I think he's trying to hype himself up into believing that he can.
That could be true. That could be true.
That could be.
When I got on the football field, I used to talk the most crap to people, not because I'd like to talk crap, but I had to hype myself up. So, because now if I said it, now I got to do it. So if he feel like he need to hype himself up in that way.
You one of them Joey Porter, Ocho Cinco gotta talk yourself into it.
Especially something like that. Yes.
So what they fight the 27th, right? So that's coming. That's coming up. No.
2 Saturdays from now, or
2 Saturdays. That's not the 27th.
Where is the fight? In the United States?
I think it's in Vegas, but I'm not 100% on that.
I would love for it to be in Vegas because while I appreciate what Turkey Al-Sheikh does and making these fights possible that people dodge for most of our adult lives, I get tired of every significant fight being in Saudi Arabia. So,
yeah, I think this one here. I don't think Turkey got this one.
I would love that, but Now that's a
Oh, it's
good
in New
way to
York,
end. Oh, it's in New York.
Madison Square.
Woo! The Garden. The Garden, not Barclays, the world's most famous arena on Broadway. Don't get me started on my New York Knicks right now.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to talk basketball yet anyway, probably till after the Super Bowl. NBA has been a little disappointing to me this year, but anyway, we'll say that for the next episode. Want to thank Captain Kurt again, the original brain thrust of the Factual Opinions brand, recurring host, Coach Cam, for sliding through. Everybody, remember, if you can't watch the YouTube live, which will remain up, you can always check out the audio on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. Spread the word, like the post, we follow everywhere. It's your host, I am Farrell, checking out with Captain Kurt and Coach Cam. We'll try and do it better the next time.
Peace.